What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to UTL Trucking Education Hub podcast. I'm your host, Tamaris Massengale. Ask you a question. What if I told you that moving freight isn't what makes the most money in this industry? What if the real money isn't in the loads? It's actually the relationships. And too many people get into trucking, dispatching, or freight brokering thinking it's all about booking loads and negotiating rates. But the people who build long-term businesses understand something different. They know this industry runs on trust, customer service, and solving problems before they even become problems. Today, we're talking about the business side of dispatching, customer service, sales, rate negotiation, and how technology is changing the future of trucking. So whether you're a dispatcher, freight broker, owner operator, or someone looking to build a transportation business, before we jump in, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications so you never miss an episode. Now, let's get to the trucking truth. Today's guest is someone who's helping bridge the gap between trucking and technology. Michael Gray is the owner of Best Loads Dispatch and Select Transport, where he combines real world trucking experience with technology to help carriers, brokers, and dispatchers operate more efficiently and build stronger businesses. Known to many as the Trucker CEO, Michael believes one of the biggest misconceptions in transportation is that success comes from simply moving freight. His philosophy is simple. The real money is in customer service, because when you become a trusted partner, instead of just another dispatcher or broker, you're no longer competing on price. You're building relationships that create long-term business. Today, we're talking about dispatching, freight brokering, customer service, sales technology, rate negotiating, and what it really takes to build a sustainable trucking business. Please help me welcome Michael Gray to UTL Trucking Education Hub podcast. Michael, thank you so very much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
So tell us about your journey into trucking, Michael.
Yeah, sure. It's kind of a long story. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of it, though. But I've kind of been in trucking my whole life. Back even when I was a kid, I remember riding around in trucks with my dad as being like a little 8-year-old little kid. And got my CDL when I was 19. So that was 1996. And I still have my CDL. And I've done lots of driving, done lots of oversized stuff. I ran a trucking company for my dad for about 15 years. From there, I got into technology at Convoy, which a lot of people might be familiar with. I've worked at Motive, ELD as well, and LoadSmart. And then I just decided to kind of go out on my own. I'm an agent for Select Transport. You said I was an owner of Select. I wish I was the owner of Select Transport. I'd be, maybe out on my yacht or something right now. But yeah, Select's like a $220 million a year company. I'm just an agent for them, and yeah, and then I have a dispatching company, and so me and someone from Convoy, we built some technology that allows drivers to like find loads and kind of self dispatch. It's some AI stuff. It's pretty cool. We can get into that if you want to. And then when we built that, we found that drivers actually really want a lot of drivers really want what we call like a full service dispatch, where they have a real human doing it for us, and then those real humans just use the technology that we've built to kind of optimize their dispatching and be a little bit more efficient. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Wow. That I love what you said, that you took your previous experience and your passions and great memories from riding along with your dad. And then you brought it into today, where technology is a must. No matter how much we hate AI and we think they're going to take all of our jobs away, it's here. It's kind of like when we were all fighting against having to move from actual tangible cash to now a credit card. Everyone was against it, but it happened and you have to get on board. So how has technology changed the way you operate your business?
Yeah, so I kind of have multiple businesses. So it's and to get into the AI subject a little bit, like I think there's a place for AI, and I think there's a place where AI doesn't belong. And I think that a lot of people are trying to shove AI down people's throats in this industry where it does not belong. I think a little bit of a sidebar, but like when you call Ryan Transport or CH Robinson or one of these big guys that have these AI agents that are answering the phone, it's just annoying, right? It's like, especially in this market, it's like, just whatever. Just, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk to you. Can I talk to a real human? They say no. And it's just, I think they're, in the near future, they're going to regret those decisions of laying off some really talented people and realize that trucking at its core is a relationship built business all around. And, but I think there are some good places where AI makes sense. And that's kind of where we've applied it. And I've applied this to my businesses where AI is like really good at looking at a data set, organizing that data, understanding it, summarizing it in a way, that's easy to understand. It can look at load boards and see what's posted, get the best loads bubbled up to the dispatcher to call. And so with technology, and then I think like also with I don't know what you want me to get into technology, nerding out on it a little bit, but like vibe coding, if you guys are familiar with vibe coding, it has like opened up so many things to just everyone. Like you can go vibe code software, like my kids vibe code software, and they're like, the vibe coding is just using natural language. It's essentially like talking like we're talking,
Right.
telling the AI what you want to create, and then it creates the thing for you. It's not perfect, and you have to have, there's some tricks and stuff, and you have to do some different iterations to get it right, and sometimes you need some help with that. But like if say someone in your audience has a small trucking company, they want to create their own website or something, and they're not sure how to do that, like you can vibe code that probably while you're doing a 34-hour reset in your sleeper, and it probably won't even take you that long. I've created some fairly complex stuff with about 30 or 40 hours of vibe coding. You can probably get a decent website up and running within a couple hours. And so, yeah, lots of cool things. So that's what AI it makes all of these things, like a website creation or some software development that would have a couple years ago taken tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or maybe millions of dollars to create. And we can just do this, you know what I mean? So it kind of levels the playing field, in my opinion. Yeah. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on technology, I guess. Didn't mean to go off.
I love it. I'm following right behind you. I love the era of AI and vibe coding. Years ago, I really tried to invest in actually becoming a coder. So I still have a passion for it, but
Sweet.
it's so simple. There's literally no reason. And I believe AI is going to help a lot of individuals that are not tech savvy, where you can literally just learn a prompt and it'll do what you need to do. I'm very, and everyone that watches the channel understands or knows that I'm very heavily driven when it comes to compliance. And I believe AI can help support in those areas. And when I say compliance, I'm meaning making sure that you have your MVR current. Make sure that you have your insurance current and it's stored away in a secured location. For example, pre-game guys, if you have a Gmail, which everyone does, if you have Gmail, utilize those different apps and tools that they have in their Gmail, which is you can store your records, your insurance. Of course, you should have a copy of all this in cab, but if you don't, you can still have it in storage where you can download the Google Docs, you can download your Google Sheets, you can download your Google drive, and if need be, pull it up on your phone and you have all your current documents right there in the palm of your hands, right? I think everyone should be doing that. You should not have just paper logs or paper documents piling up somewhere. Scan it with your phone. If you have an iPhone, you can literally go to your notes. When you go to your notes, this is a sidebar, but I think this is
this is great.
So you can go to your notes app on your iPhone, right? And then you hit the little icon at the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see that. You can see the little icon at the bottom. You can hit the icon at the bottom. And then when you hit the icon at the bottom, where it is, let me go back to it. Where is it? You can hit the clip, right? You hit the clip that's at the bottom. So it's going to give you those cons down there. You hit the little clip. And then when you hit the clip, it literally brings up a menu. Wait a minute.
I can see it. I didn't even know about this. So this is awesome.
So you see where it says scan text or scan document? You literally hit that, put the document there, scan it, and it's in your notes.
Yeah. And I think I would imagine, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I would venture to guess that like it makes that document searchable because the AI
absolutely
can read that document, even if it's a PDF. And like, let's say you wanted to find a POD from, 36 days ago, you did a load for Armstrong transport or something. You just know the keyword like Armstrong. You could search Armstrong and it'll find out all these loads.
That's right.
You got to save that stuff because it's going to cover your butt. That's just not only what you're talking about with the compliance stuff.
Right.
PODs, receipts, right?
Yeah.
Like tax stuff. Like when it comes time for taxes, everybody's killing it. Everybody's making money right now. You don't want to give that money to Uncle Sam. Like
exactly.
I'm a big believer in, everybody has different levels of comfort when it comes to what you can write off. I'm like, if I'm out on the road, I buy a new pair of socks. I'm writing off my pair of socks. You know what I mean? Like
uniform. It's part of
uniform. You in like just everything. I'm buying an Alani for myself.
Right.
Yeah. Meals. Yeah. Everything. Just write that crap off,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to that point, it's imperative that individuals operate as a business, right? And I keep stressing this on every show that I speak with, that you have to make sure that you're functioning as a business. You can't just get the skill and then you jump out there. You have to have the skill, the knowledge, the customer service, and a business side. And that's what I love about what you talk about on your page is you give different scenarios that tap into those different type of categories. So customer service is a major factor in any business because like you stated earlier, although everyone is moving to this AI without a soft integration into that, there's still old school people that we want to talk to a person. And when we talk to a person, we want to have a relationship. We want to communicate. We want to know that you actually care about what I'm talking about, because I could call and talk to the AI to have just a dead relationship, right? A cold conversation, right? So just talk a little bit about why you believe personally in your business and just across the board, you think customer service is so important.
Absolutely. I think we kind of hit on it before, like this is a service industry, right? Trying to think of a good analogy. Maybe I'll come up with one as I'm talking here, but like you could think about like everybody's taking their car to go get fixed somewhere, right? And if they're going to change the alternator out for you or something, right? And you just take it there and they just do the job. They don't call you, tell you it's done. It's just, they're not talking to you. They're not looking for other things that they can help. Like, hey, we topped off your windshield wiper. These are just kind of some examples, and then now take it to the other where like they vacuumed out the floor mat. They wore some booties over their car. You ever have guys show up at your house? They put the booties on as they come in to fix something, right? The little looks like shower caps on their feet, right? But like it's kind of an example of like the job is fixing the alternator. Like that's what really matters, right? But are you going to go like next time you have something wrong with your car, and even more so like with building relationships, if the mechanic's like, hey, it looks like your belts are getting worn, they're not bad this time, like all these little things. And hey, I'm going to make a note to remember. So these don't directly correlate with trucking, but hopefully people get the idea of like, just doing these little things and like caring about what you're doing. It doesn't cost anything really. Maybe it burns some extra calories from the brain process,
Right.
right? But not really, so look at this as there's kind of like two kinds of service providers. And I say this with the brokers for sure.
Yeah.
And also with the trucking companies who have direct customers, but also applies to people who work for brokers. So anyways, but mostly brokers and trucking companies working directly with shippers, like, you have the service model, right? And then you have like just a commodity, right? And a commodity is something where the price just fluctuates based on supply and demand, and there really isn't a difference in quality or anything like that. It's like a barrel of oil is $150 or something.
Right.
Like there's no service involved. It's just the price of the barrel based on supply and demand.
Right.
Trucking is the same way. And you kind of live in that game where all you're doing is picking something up somewhere and dropping it off somewhere else. You're just a commodity at that point. And now if you're building a relationship and you're providing really good service, and it does suck because sometimes you provide really good service and it didn't make any difference at all.
Yeah.
Nobody cared, right? But if you just make a habit of this and you look for those opportunities where like, hey, maybe there is an opportunity for me to build a relationship with this broker or build this because I liked working with this person. They were fair and they paid me well.
Right.
And, there was detention and they didn't fight me for it or whatever. And they just, right. You want to build relationship with that. And that type of a broker or a customer is going to look for people who kind of go the extra mile.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you have to remember also that both the brokers and those shippers are really busy, right? You're just a blip on their radar, especially if you're your first couple loads, right? You might leave an impression, but really, by the fifth time or maybe the 10th load or something like that, you're building a relationship. And then if you can get to where one of the goals that I think people should have, and I share this, is like, if it's a good broker and somebody, your type of work pays good and you're like, man, I want to do this stuff all the time. Right. You want to get to a point where this broker is sending you a text message.
That's right.
And be like, hey, you got a truck tomorrow afternoon?
Right.
And then you're like, boom, now I'm getting to be in. And you're just like the easy button. You're the easy path. And when you start doing that and it gets to become a habit for that broker, if you want to start making more money, he's like, hey, you just call them on the phone, or I always suggest, like, I think things like this go better on the phone, but just like, hey, can we do another like 50 or $100 on these loads, and just fill in the blank for the reason.
Right.
If I have a good reason. I'm seeing some other freight out there. I really like hauling for you. I'm seeing stuff on the load board that's kind of paying more. If you could just do like another 50 or $100 or whatever that number is, $300, I'd rather just give you my truck and just stay dedicated to you because I really like working for you. Or the price of fuel is going up, or whatever. There's a lot of different reasons, but have a reason. And just, I think the way you say it too, like not demanding, like, hey, if you could do this for me, I'd really like to continue to do these things for you. Right. But just kind of leave it kind of soft and open instead of being hard in the way that you're coming across. So, I think that, definitely like the commodity. And I do think a lot of drivers miss that point. Right. So, And I think it's coming from a company driver perspective, where you are kind of a little bit of a commodity as a company driver. to a business owner. That's the difference.
Right. I believe customer service across the board. Customer service is just a technical term for being kind, being respectful, and I think it's an attestment to your work ethics. If you're a person that you really don't want to do your job, you hate your job, then that's how you're going to come across. If you're a person that loves your job, you really love the experience, it's not hard for you to go the extra mile because you find yourself taking pride in what you're doing. Your posts are so passionate. You're to the point when you're talking about your subject for whatever it may be for that week, but you can tell you actually care because you ask questions. I think one of your videos you posted yesterday, it was a great question. How should you handle when you have an owner operator that may have not been so forthcoming with you,
right?
But they have your load. You can't really go off on them because it's kind of like, the old saying is when you have your hand in the lion's mouth, what are you going to do? Keep talking mess, or you going to tickle them and tell them a joke and ease it out, So, but that example of the type of passion you bring to your platform is because you have a passion for it and you love it, you care for it. It's evident because you've been in it for so long, right? But there are people, and the trucking industry as a whole has such a negative cloud hanging over it. You hear people complaining about the industry that really talk about the fun that you get out of it, and that's why I reached out to you. I like how you present yourself. It's not dry, it's not dull. You ask thought-provoking questions, and I think as customer service, it's just a representation of who you are. If you're someone that you're just not a nice person, it's going to come across how you handle your business, But if you are naturally a person that you're genuine, you care, you're friendly, it's going to come across. And building relationships with brokers, whether you're a dispatcher, whether you're an owner operator, whether you are a small fleet or a compliance manager, you want to make sure that they feel confident in handing over their reputation, because essentially that's what they're doing. As a broker, they've already gone through the hard work on the back end of getting that contract solidified. So their name is on the line, with that customer. So they want to make sure that if they're going to tap into you, they're going to trust you with this load. You're going to do exactly what you've already sold. As the broker, you've already sold this type of service to the customer. So I know it's probably the viewers are probably, why are they harping so much on customer service? Because
you drive a really good point home. And it is about I think you make a really good point, and something I wasn't really thinking of like just being positive. You know what I mean? Positivity draws positive, and you're like grumpy. And I get it, because I've driven a truck before, and I've spent, time behind the wheel. And I think what happens a lot of times is you just something starts eating at you. You know what I mean? Like, that son of a said this. And then, it's 3 days later and you're still stewing on it.
Right.
Before you know it, you're ready to go, break his kneecaps the next time you see him, or you're going off on somebody else about it. Like, it's a hard industry. And even the people who are loading the trucks, everybody just is be in a pissy mood a lot. Everybody's working hard. These are hard jobs. But I do believe that you can choose to be in a good mood. Like, to a certain extent, you're kind of master of your own universe, right? Here, hopefully, at least with my kids, they're like, she made me mad. And that's why I hit her, it's like, did she make you mad? Does that mean she can control you? So she has control over your emotions and your behavior. Right. And they're like, oh, well, I didn't think about that.
Right.
You're letting her control you.
Exactly. So it's the same thing in this industry. It's the same thing in this industry that, you could, I say this all the time, just in day-to-day walk, like, no one can physically make you do anything that you don't want to do. You choose to follow that temporary emotion because that's what it winds up being. It's an emotional, and 9 times out of 10, that emotion is attached to something very, very small. It could have been that you're hungry, you miss your family, you didn't get enough
A little
sleep,
angry,
you're hangry,
right?
or so it spills over. But I think that's where these type of platforms that we have, that we're speaking to those pain points so that they know that they're not crazy. It is very lonely on that road. And if you don't have proper support on the other side of it, it's just like when being a felon or being incarcerated. If you don't have support that's helping you to see a different side of it, then you're quite naturally just going to navigate to the negativity. And that's what you're going to see on social media, because that gets ratings, that gets views, talking mess about a broker or a dispatcher. But in the reality, that's just a title. That's a person. You know what I'm saying? So if that person is having a bad day, it doesn't take you 2.5 seconds to say, hey, you all right? You good?
Yeah.
Sarah, normally when I call, you're chipper. Everything all right today? And really mean it. Take a few seconds. It is not going to kill
It kind
you.
of caught them off guard too. They're like, oh.
Yeah, so because you want to break the monotony of this, anti-socializing. Everyone is just all about me, 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 and social media doesn't help with that, and just being isolated. People forget that you're a human being. Like, hey, how are you? I can't tell you how many people I startle when I'm walking up and say hello, and they're, oh, hi,
What do you want?
Yeah, like, what do you want? It's like,
You just sell me something?
it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much, and we need more people to, especially with the rapid growth of AI, where it's causing to not have to have any type of human association, or any things of that nature. So that's a great segue into my next question. I just want to get your feedback and your thoughts about what makes the difference between a regular dispatcher and an exceptional, non-replaceable dispatcher?
That's a really good question. I think the core of it is, work ethic and experience and attitude are probably all pretty interchangeable. I don't know if you could take one of those, you can maybe take one of those away and still have a pretty good dispatcher, right? They have good work ethic and experience, but a bad attitude. They'll probably still get you some stuff.
Yeah.
So, but if you don't have experience, you better have a good attitude and a dang good work ethic, right?
Right.
So, I think that makes a difference. And, so I do have a dispatching company that we started up. And one thing, the reason why I started this is like, dispatching wasn't really even on my radar before. And so in 2023, through a series of random events, I ended up just starting a trucking company again, because I thought I had some oil field stuff I was going to do. It ended up not working out. But anyways, like, when I had my dad's company, we were like 20 trucks. He was, the MC was like, really old, from the 70s, right? We were in business for 40 some years. And so we didn't really see the dispatch industry. It was not on my radar at all. That's something a lot of these older, decent sized companies, like some of them, at least for us then, it didn't really exist. I feel like dispatching really took off post COVID.
Right.
Anyway, when I got my authority again, I started getting all these phone calls. I'm like, holy crap, like, y'all need to slow down. I got like 19 phone calls in like 2.5 hours one day. And I'm like, you guys are going to make me lose my mind. Like, I'm going to freaking lose my.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know how it is.
Yeah.
Anybody with an MC knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Freaking stop. And then, I had my brokerage at this time too. And then maybe this seems naive, right, for somebody with a fair amount of experience in the industry, but I didn't really put two and two together that some of these people that I was talking to and booking loads for were actually third-party dispatchers and didn't work for the trucking company. Like, that just never occurred to me. I don't know. So anyways, it's like one of those aha, well, duh moments.
Right.
And then I kind of like started paying more attention, and I'm like, wow, this is really bad. Like for the most part, the dispatching industry on a whole is a dumpster fire. And I kind of came to the conclusion that like these dispatchers are actually losing these trucking companies money. Like
Yeah.
they are losing loads 100% for sure. And I know because I'm the person giving the loads.
Right.
And so I started doing a couple experiments, and I would get somebody calling me, super unprofessional, like catching them lying. That's the thing. A lot of dispatchers lie their ass off all the time. And then highway kind of emerged, and
Mike, you were talking about a particular situation you experienced with a previous client and a owner operator. If you don't mind just sharing a little bit about that, because I think brokers get a horrible um tag associated with them that they're stealing all this money. But when you think about the type of pressure that they're under from the moment that they negotiate the contract with the client to the moment that they put it on the load board or they assign it to an owner operator to the moment that it's dropped off, despite you doing all of your background checking and making sure things that there's no way for you as the broker to verify if this person is legit. You have to literally go on the limb and trust that they're going to be able to do what they say they're going to do. So I would love for you to defend all the other brokers that are out there.
I don't know if I'm willing to go that far. I'm not going to say, hey, there's a lot of scumbags. There's a
It is, but it's on all aspects of it.
There it is.
It is.
There's a lot of drivers that not, like, and there's everybody, like nobody's innocent in this industry. Like you go to buy tires from somebody, you're going to run into some scumbags.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So yeah, and I think there are, and I've seen both sides. There are a lot of brokers, even when with the dispatch company, sometimes they'll jump in and help book loads, and I'm just like, I don't know. I hate to sound a little arrogant, but I'm like, bro, I know more than you. I know you're being a jerk.
Right.
Like, I'm not stupid. So anyway, I'm not here to like defend all brokers because there are a lot of scumbags out there, and probably a little bit more heavy on the scumbags in the brokerage world than the driver world, if we're all being honest with each other. But yeah, I think like we were talking about offline, I think like just people can get jaded, and I feel like sometimes brokers get jaded. So we were talking about as a load that I just had that was real rough, and I'm probably going to lose $6,000 on it and just have to pay eat the cost of the freight. So some of the stuff that I do is very last minute. It's weekend, it's rush, it's always like an emergency, and they don't really care how much the truck costs to a certain extent. And because the cost of it not being there is so great. So this one happened a couple months ago, but it was out of Southern California. They called me on like Friday at like 7 p.m. Mike, we need a hot shot to pick up Saturday in Southern California and deliver to Colorado end of the day Sunday, or worst case Monday morning. We're looking, we can't find a hot shot. We ended up putting it on a big truck, a step deck. The guy loads, we have the delivery date and everything on the thing just like we should. And the guy loads, and via tracking from Southern California, he takes the southern route and goes through like Flagstaff and then New Mexico, which is a little bit longer, doesn't make a lot of sense. But he ends up not making it until Tuesday morning to deliver there. So he's a day late. And so the cost of this to the customer, and to back up, we're pretty sure he put a partial with it and dropped it off in Flagstaff on Saturday, even though we were paying him $6,000 on, actually I have this load up right here. What are the miles? 1,047 miles. So that's a great, it's pretty good rate, right? It's also Southern California flatbed, which you got a flatbed in Southern California.
Yeah.
That's a money making machine right there.
Right.
So, that's not out of the ordinary for what we've been paying. We probably sent, a dozen trucks up there, and it's all anywhere from 6-7 grand a piece. But anyways, this, so, what happens with these loads, like this was going to a horse park, an equestrian center where they're like very wealthy people. They have like $50,000-$100,000 horses at this stable. And, this was going to be an event, like a wine tasting thing, and show your horse. And they have like, so my customer, they make the big, tents, like you'd see at a wedding thing. And then there's a stage and a concert. And so anyways, they had to push the event back a day. And my customer ended up getting sued because of it. And they had 10 people sitting there because they already had a limited amount of time. And this is also a little bit on my customer because they're not the greatest at communicating with me on some of these things. And sometimes I don't know how urgent it is. I have to assume that everything is urgent. Yeah, so since they're getting sued, it's probably going to cost 20-30 grand for them that they're going to lose. And they've already hinted that they would like to at least split this with me, because they ended up where the stuff just ended up being useless, and they had all this stuff delivered there and they weren't able to use it at all just because a dispatcher or whatever got greedy and decided to try to put a partial with it. And, that carrier is blocked in our system, and it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad, what they did. But, so, like the point was like, you get things like that brokers, that happen to the brokers. And I can understand how someone who's, maybe not that mature or whatever, they're going to get jaded, and they're going to be like, oh, these truckers, and they get a few things happen like that over months or years. And you just get this bad attitude. And I've seen it before. They don't remember like the 19 times the thing went well. They remember the one time it went bad. Right. And I think the same is fairly true with drivers as well. But yeah, I would say with drivers, just to kind of bring this home, is like, remember the brokers that treated you badly. Like the ones who were like, we had this happen with our dispatching company. I wasn't the dispatcher. I don't really dispatch day to day, but this driver sat at a job site for 6.5 hours all day. The broker's like, oh yeah, we'll pay you. No problem. Don't worry about it. Of course, we'll take care of you when everything's said and done. We all know the story. We know how this goes. Next day, broker's ghosting us. The dispatcher, bubbles it up to me after a while, and I get involved. Email the broker, call the broker. I call the broker's main office, and I'm like, hey, and this was an agent model. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, hey, I want to talk to you about, your agent. We're not getting paid on something we were promised to get paid, right? And I think it's different. Like if you're going to promise to pay a driver something, then pay it.
Yeah.
Or just be a freaking jerk and from the very beginning be like, I'm not paying you detention time. Right. Then at least we all know. But right. Lead somebody along.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it would be right not to pay in the first place, but like, don't lie. And I ended up calling them, pretty good sized brokerage, about $100 million company, and called them and like, hey, I need to talk to the person who oversees your agents. Told them what happened, just got lip service, they didn't care. And it's kind of a wild story, but I ended up making a post on LinkedIn and tagging that company and tagging the CEO. And I didn't know it was going to happen, but it was kind of wild. Within 2 hours, that the CEO of that trucking company was calling me on my cell phone. And yeah, I did not expect it. And I have a pretty, I don't know, pat myself on the back too much, but like I have a pretty decent resume on LinkedIn and a pretty deep following. Like I've done some stuff. And he called me and I told him what happened. I'm like, hey, like this is just like standard stuff. This is how drivers get treated. And I made a very respectful post. I'm like, hey, this broker, is acting in bad faith over this thing. And and on LinkedIn, there's kind of like this trend of brokers and carriers trying to bridge the gap. And I'm like, hey, while we're all trying to bridge this gap and kind of make peace to a certain extent, this is what happens. And the CEO of that company paid my driver personally.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, I was driving around in my pickup, like doing errands with my wife, and I was like, I had to pull over because I was like, I can't believe this is like happening. Like I was, you put a post up, everybody's like,
Yeah. Well,
plays violently, who cares?
good story because I preach this too. You have to be your own advocate. You
Yeah.
can't just sit back and be in the corner with the rest, just complaining about the issues. That's part of the reason why I started this podcast, is because I'm tired of hearing about all of the horrible brokers and dispatchers and owner operators. Let's come together and pull our knowledge together and make a difference, right? Make a change.
Right.
I'm glad that because what people don't understand about brokers, and correct me if I'm wrong, brokers are bonded, right? And so if you have a bond, that bond is in place for scenarios just like this, right? If they don't want to pay you, that's what they have this bond for, right? The bond is any operational costs or issues that go haywire. So if this, short of taking them to small claims court, you should continue to fight and advocate for yourself. You should not just take it that, oh, they didn't pay me and it was only just $100. That $100 times 5 brokers doing it, that's $500 that you lost. On top of the fact that you, not to mention the hours that you sat waiting for whatever.
And lost opportunity too.
Exactly. Because you were sitting there. That's 6 hours. That's a long time to just be sitting. You could have been reloaded, and moving along the way.
The dispatcher had another load. We had to give that load back. That broker was pissed. But yeah, I think and I'll just go on a little bit of a tangent here. You see on social media, we see a lot of things about all these advocates of hey, we need all this transparency and blah, blah, blah. I think honestly, the thing, if people want to be an advocate for drivers and small trucking companies, the number one thing that could be done is to make some sort of a regulation or whatever it is where drivers, where brokers have to pay drivers detention. It's the law, or there's, I don't know how we would do it, how it would be enforced, but that's one of the biggest things in the industry right now. Way beyond the transparency thing. I always say if you know the rate, what are you going to do with that information? Who
exactly? Yeah.
What are you going to do with it? And nobody's ever answered me that question. What are you going to do with that information? I don't know. Just be pissed that the broker made $500. Okay, did that make you the $500? No, but you can about it. So who cares? It doesn't make
right.
No, I agree
1,000% that it should definitely be something that is mandated, that you not only for but also Tono. When you drive all the way there, they just say, we don't need you, or you midway there, So I'm just out of my diesel, my time. I could have gone with a different load. There's options, and you just saying, whatever.
50 for a Tonu, is really nothing. If the truck was on his way there, maybe it's the day before, or it's the morning of, and you were going to load that afternoon, and you still have an opportunity.
Yeah.
But even in those things, you most of the time you won't get a truck ordered, not used. But yeah, I would love to see that. It's not something I can't pick up that baton and go fight for the right. I'm pretty busy, but I think that would be one of the most useful things that we could do, and maybe even make it. And then also the recourse against drivers with the 411 and the freight guards. I would love to see that be a two-way street.
Absolutely. I never understood that theory, and I'm still asking around to try to understand, how is that even legal? That you could just have an argument with a broker and they put you on there. It doesn't speak to your professionalism. It doesn't speak to your CSA score. Just a broker got PO'd with you and reported you. And now you have to carry that. Is it 2 years now? Is it 1 year or
it'll darn near put you out of business.
Yeah, it literally can. It literally can. And I believe that's why a lot of people are just having multiple MC numbers, because it's not where it's the things that should be regulated are not, and the things that are not a big thing, like my personal opinion, I could be 1,000% wrong, but I think the efforts that they're putting in chasing down people that cannot speak English correctly is a waste of resources and money. And that's my personal opinion. When you be chasing down in brokers that have treated people poorly or made a false statement, and now they have this freight guard and they lose their business. I think that's a little more detrimental to the success
way more,
as opposed to someone that English is a second language, and they, if they're doing what they're supposed to do, they don't have any issues. Why is them not being able to speak? I speak English as a first language and can't get the words out sometimes. So, I mean, again, that's my own little personal thought process. But I think I know FMCSA is doing the very best that they can, and they're trying to right a lot of wrongs that have been wrong for centuries, right?
Right.
What they're doing in the industry is stuff that has already been written into existence. They just didn't enforce it. So that's what a lot of people don't understand in this industry. They're trying to say that it's something new. No, it's not. It's been in existence. They just haven't been enforcing it. But there should be more focus on things like what we just discussed, drivers having their entire day wasted because effective communication on the back end between a broker and a customer. When I had my trucking company, I experienced with my driver where the broker didn't communicate that this customer had moved across the street, but across the street was one of those streets where it was like miles long that it had a ditch. So that caused him to be late because he had to go now another 20 minutes down, highway to get across the street. But that's communication. That was an error on the broker. But of course, the broker didn't eat that. I had to eat that. Right. Yeah. So, things like that should be more of a focal point of fairly compensating these drivers and making sure that, everyone's being taken care of, correctly, because the truth of the matter is the owner operators are the ones that's out there in the trenches, and they're the ones that don't get the respect that they deserve, honestly,
And they don't really have any recourse, right? Yeah. So I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. So I know that, I want to be respectful of your time, and we're getting ready to wrap it up. So I have a section that is called the lightning round, and the lightning round is to just ask you a few questions and you give me the response that quickly comes to head. And then
got it. I'll try to be fast. I do talk a lot. I got trucking in my blood. Once you sit in a truck for so long, you get to do it.
I love it. I could do this all day.
Nice.
So first one, broker or dispatcher?
What do you mean? Like, what's the context?
The broker or dispatcher, which one would you prefer?
I hate to say it, but broker, because you make a lot more money.
Okay. Calling or referrals?
Referrals all day. I don't do cold calling.
CRM or spreadsheets?
CRM.
Coffee or energy drinks?
Gotta have it. You gotta have some.
Yes. And the last one business habit everyone should develop.
Customer service.
That's shocking.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I have a fun question that I want to close out with. 11 kids. 11 kids, Michael.
Yeah.
What's the biggest leadership lesson you've learned from being a father that also applies to business of 11 kids?
I would have to say patience, not jumping to conclusions.
Yeah.
Sometimes saying less is more.
That's right.
Ask smart questions and let the other person dig their own grave, if that's where you're going with the conversation, right?
Yeah. So. I think that's applicable across the board, whether it's in personal life or it's in business. Sometimes less is more, like you just said. Less is More.
Smart questions, right?
Yes, and smart
Thoughtful
questions.
question.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, Michael, I've enjoyed you immensely.
Likewise.
Forward to having you back a second time. But before we close out, I want you to let the people know how they can get in contact with you, because we need to make sure that you don't have any issues with those hot shots again. I mean, we need to make sure people are flooding your DMs, letting you know they are ready, they are professional, and they are ready to make you some money. Okay.
I love the hot shots. I love hot shots. They're yeah. But yeah, so the Trucker CEO is on TikTok. It's probably the best place to do it, or bestloadsdispatch.com. There's a contact us form there. And yeah, just happy to help people. And even if somebody has like, they're working with a direct shipper and they're not really sure how to grow this thing, actually my next call is with someone like that. They have a hot shot. The customer really likes them. They want to grow. The customer wants to give them more work. So I'm going to help them get into maybe being a broker. And I've done this a few times with people where like, let's grow this thing and let me help you with some resources. And I'm more of like, let me help you learn how to do it yourself. I don't want to like take that away from them and give them a cut, Right. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you again for joining us for another episode of UTL Trucking Education Hub podcast. So, of course, you guys, I got to say my last little statement, which is remember, you can make excuses or you can make progress, but you usually can't make both. Now, that's the trucking truth. Till next time.